Dear friends, welcome to THALIR. It means bud. It is budding force to a new life. And we are Capuchins working for the renewal of the society and the church. My dear friends, welcome to the international program for the midlifers. This program is being held from 3rd to 7th of November, every day in the evening, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Indian time. We are focusing on growing gracefully and midlife transition. This is offered by THALIR Capuchin Online Ministries. This is from Virtual Institute of Spirituality, Integration and Transformation. Visit. We are struggling with the discontentment with life and boredom with things and people. We start questioning the meaning of life. We are confused about who we are and where our life is going. We are facing boredom, exhaustion, self-questioning, daydreaming. We have come across irritability, unexpected anger. We are sometimes act on alcohol, drug, food and other compulsions. Sometimes we are also greatly decreased or increased in sexual desires and other concerns. We are also decreased and increased by ambitions in life. Therefore, to answer to these situations, we are happy to have amidst us Reverend Dr.Staney, CSSR, the Redemptorist priest. On the first day, we will be dealing with midlife crisis versus midlife transition. We'll follow with physical transition, emotional transition, spiritual rebirth, and relational transitions. We welcome you to have a wonderful interaction, input, and clarifications. Here comes Reverend Father Dr. Staney, CSSR.
Good evening, Father. Good evening, Brother Ben, and good evening, friends. I'm sure that yesterday's session was useful to you. And by the end of the session, we stopped to ask certain questions, a sort of re-evaluation of my life, as it were, right from childhood up till now. How had the process gone by? I think that is a vital exercise so that we can live in our past memories so that certain things can come into our mind. So when we move on from day 1 to day 2 and the days that are going to come by, it's going to give us a lot of clarity, a clarity of thought, clarity of purpose, and then we can make or work through a strategy of life that can be beneficial, transformative, and then it can ultimately lead us to a satisfied life and ministry. So yesterday we were trying to understand what is a transition and what is a crisis. And now in our context, we are trying to understand what is the transition in midlife, what is the crisis in midlife. So we made a distinction between the two. If you remember, we said a transition is a movement from one point to another that is inevitable. That movement is going to happen, but it will move on. We might go through a lot of stress, a lot of strains during that movement, but still that process will continue. We'll move from one point to another as a transition. But when does that transition becomes a crisis is only when I look at myself and evaluate and see, can I handle the current situation of my own life? It could be my personal life, it could be my physical life, it could be my emotional life, my communitarian life, or my ministerial life. It could be any life. We are trying to compartmentalize just for our understanding. It's basically our life. There are different facets of our life. And we can ask a question, how satisfied am I? How satisfied am I with my life as I stand right now, here and now? So then I tend to reevaluate all these facets of my life, and then I see what tools do I possess what tools do I possess so that I can handle the situation that's present right in front of me. And when I see that the tools that I possess is insufficient to handle the situation that is right in front of me, then this transition takes another diversion, and then it turns into a crisis. So we become panicky, and we feel helpless, and we make choices that can have a ripple effect. Initially, it might seem right, but over the period of time, we will come to know that it was a rash decision because we made a choice when we're emotionally not really stable. And when we are so perplexed, we made a choice, and that's going to have its own impact and effect. So that is vital for us to understand that. So that's what we were talking about yesterday. And today, we're going to talk about another area of our life, about us, the physical me. The physical me. So now we are actually talking about a transition, a movement right from childhood to adolescent to young adulthood. And I'm in my 30s, I'm in a prime of my energy. So I'm introduced into a ministry. My ministry is going on with full vigor. I throw myself totally into it, and I see a lot of success stories behind that. And I feel happy and content when I was 30 because I'm at the prime of my energy level. My health is good. My body can move the way that I wanted it to move. If I want to run, I can run. If I wanted to walk, I can walk. I need not really catch up with a lot of sleep. And with a minimal amount of food, I can go on. So I can even sometimes take my own necessities, something like food and sleep and recreation, for granted because my energy is so high. So I feel it's a success story. But the transition is a movement. It's moving on into the 40s. And when it moves to the 40s, my body is not going to accompany the same way it did when I was 25 and when I was 30. I get aches. I can get into issues with sleep. I can issues with eating. I may not contract certain kind of physical ailments like cholesterol, obesity, or maybe get something like uh, high blood pressure, hypertension. So these things also sort of gives us a feeling that I am not okay. I feel that I'm not okay because when I reevaluate, I say at 25 I never had. I was hale and healthy. I can decide something and I can do it. But today my body is not cooperating. I wanted to sleep, but I can't sleep. I wanted to enjoy a bowl of ice cream, but I can't because I have diabetes. I'm tested with diabetes. So I'm not supposed to be taking a lot of salt in my food because I have hypertension. Or maybe I can get into migraine headaches. Or I can put on a lot of weight. I find it very difficult to walk or maybe climb stairs. I tend to pant a lot. So these things come as a hurdle. So then I tend to look at myself negatively and say, oh my God, what am I doing? What's happening? I am not what I am. Now, this is a kind of a feeling that can go on. So for which we need to understand what's going on. What's going on physically with me. And tomorrow we'll be dealing with what is going on psychologically with me. That is, how am I interpreting my current condition and how that is impacting my day-to-day living, whether it's my community living, or my prayer life, or it could be my ministry, or even interpersonal relationship. So that will be the topic for tomorrow. So we'll proceed from today and then we'll move into tomorrow. So everything moves from one topic to another, right? So today we will try to understand what is physical transition, what's happening to me physically. So I'm going to share this PowerPoint with you. And of course, I will share this PowerPoint with Father Nitya and he will forward it to you after the session. Now, physical transition in midlife. And this is what we're going to see. Friends, the healthiest you in your 40s and beyond, that's what we're going to tackle here. How can you be healthy and a feeling of contentment when you're 40 and beyond? Now, we can't deny that time tend to pass by and there are a lot of bodily changes and day-to-day health concerns happen. It's like the weather that can actually sort of come in and go by. You got a storm, you got a cold, and you got aches. Similarly, you got pains, you got pimples, you got blisters. And overall, there can be health issues, just like the climate change. We can have health change. Okay, so that's what it is said. It's an accumulation of lot of different factors. Our health, our life is an accumulation of a lot of things like genetics, like predisposition. That means, is it anything running in the family? Like, say, for example, I have a particular condition like asthma. I have asthma. Did my father or mother have asthma? Or did their parents have asthma? Is it just passing on from one generation to another? That is basically a genetic predisposition. That could be one factor. There could be chance, there could be change because I've been located in a particular geographic environment which is not very conducive for me. Now, say for example, I was born and bred in a very warm climate. Now I am put into a very, very cold climate where the temperature dips down to -4 to -14 degrees. I find it difficult because this is a change that it takes time for me to accept and to work my way through. Or it could be my lifestyle changes. Now, say for example, lifestyle changes, the eating habits that we have. So today we have Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's the norm today among youngsters because it's tasty and it's available, and then it is also not, you don't have to wait for long. So you have French fries and you have buffalo wings and you're going to have a burger. I mean, that's a lifestyle. But is that healthy? Is it helping me? Like for a 20-year-old, their digestive system is at their prime. Anything they eat, they digest. But when we move on to the 40s, everything slows down. Our entire body slows down. Our immunity slows down. Our physical muscle strength slows down. Our thinking process sometimes slows down. The ability to react slows down. My digestion slows down. My way of processing toxic management within my body, my liver gets overloaded, my kidney gets overloaded. So my entire body slows down. And now what we are doing, we are giving it excess pressure by hitting a junk food restaurant or eating a junk food on a periodic basis. My body can't take it anymore. So it could be a lifestyle choice. Or it could be the lifestyle. Today, people say this, right? They've asked me, some people have asked me, you're not on Facebook? As if it's a criminal offense not to be on Facebook, Because if you're not on a Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, that means, yeah, you're living in outer space. That's the generation that we live in. So they ask you a question, something like, you're not on Facebook? It's a derogatory way of saying it. And if you say no, really? Because that's become a norm. Now, what about using Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter? I'm not against it. But if you have a particular time to do it. And people also do binge watching Netflix on Amazon Prime. That's a lifestyle choice. Today we have the mobile phones that is more of a distraction than communication. So you have everything on that, and anything that comes on, a little tone, a ping, and immediately we are forced to look into the mobile phone to say, what text message did I get? Now, this has become a lifestyle. So what happens? Now, looking into the computer, we have this blue rays hitting our eyes. Therefore, our eyes get dry because we need a little bit of moisture. At 40s, it normally dries down, but then looking at the blue light, it dries down even further, and then it affects my sleep pattern. So I go to bed, finishing all of my Twitter work and Instagram work and Facebook work. I go to bed, say about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And how much of rest am I giving to my body? 4 hours? At 40? When my entire system is slowing down? I think that's the time we need to give more time for the body to recover. But unfortunately, our lifestyle choices also have a greater impact, and over a long period of time, it creates external stress to the body. Okay, our bodies are like this. An elastic band or rubber band, elastic band. Now, it has got a threshold. You can just pull the elastic band to a point, it can withstand. But if you try pulling it beyond that, it will snap, it will break, because that's the limit. So our body is also elastic, it has also got a threshold, and beyond which it cannot take it. And if you're trying to stretch it over a period of time, say for example, few months or few years, then obviously we're going to end up with physical complications. So that is what we're going to talk about, what we can do about it. Okay. Now, if you look at it, health means all that: genetics, nutrition, lifestyle, environment, where it is polluted, whether it is noisy or whatever, and the medical care that we take. Sometimes drug intake. Like say for example, I'm a person who is diagnosed with hypertension. So regularly I have to take 2 tablets in the morning, regularly over a period of time, and there's no stopping. It goes on, runs into years. Now, is it going to have an effect on my body? Definitely yes, because it can affect my liver. Sometimes people also have this habit of self-medication. You have a headache, you go for a paracetamol tablet. You got a fever, go for a paracetamol tablet. You have a throat ache, you go for a paracetamol tablet. And people know they end up in paracetamol tablets anyway. But they might have different names. They might Dolo 600, Calpol, Fastin, and they could have any kind of a generic name like that. But ultimately, the core compound is paracetamol tablet. And the research conclusions are paracetamol tablets can also cause liver cirrhosis. The more intake of paracetamol tablets can have a problem with the liver. It can cause liver cirrhosis. Now, normally we understand liver cirrhosis is a condition that happens only to people who are alcoholics or people who abuse substances like cocaine or heroin or meth or whatever. Now, it's not true. But the very intake of a medication also can cause liver cirrhosis and fatty liver conditions. Okay, so we need to be very careful. That's what we will try to understand. Now, this is a beautiful thing by James Holly I came across. I would like to read it for you. Okay, the middle passage is an occasion for redefining and reordaining the personality, a rite of passage between the extended adolescent and our inevitable appointment with old age and mortality. Those who travel the passage continuously render their lives more meaningfully. Those who do not remain prisoners of childhood, however successful they may appear in afterlife. Now, this is a classical definition of a midlife condition by James Holland. Okay, now let's talk about some of the health hazards that we can encounter during midlife and what we can do about them. Number one, heart diseases. Now, heart disease is something that can develop during the midlife. Over a period of stress and strain, it can develop after, say, 30, 35, and it can aggravate, can become stronger over a period of time, running right into 60s and 70s. So heart diseases develop slowly over time and typically appears in midlife, because I think we have this. Many people have this heart condition. Now, the World Health Organization in census in 2013, it says heart diseases, it is the #1 cause of death worldwide. That is what the World Health Organization, WHO, in the census of 2013, it states. So this is not something that we can take it for granted, because it is prevalent. It is distributed globally. It's not only just, it is to one geographic area. It's not only talking about India, no, it might be in Africa, or it might be in America, or it might be in Southeast Asian countries. But we are talking about it's a global phenomenon. So that means we need to know about it. Why is it? What we can do about it. Now, when we talk about heart diseases, it's a collection of many. We're not talking about a heart attack. Heart attack is one thing. Okay, stroke is one thing. One here, what we are talking about, heart diseases, it's a culmination of a lot of things. And what are they? Heart diseases can include heart defects and heart rhythm problems, as well as narrowed, blocked, or stiffened blood vessels, referred to as cardiovascular disease. So we're talking about a spectrum here. We're talking about a spectrum. We're not just talking about one thing. It could be a defect in your rate of heartbeat. The heart, normally the heart rate is between 60 and 90 beats per minute. 60 to 90 beats per minute is the normal heart rate. Now, supposing you can also get involved in certain sport activity, and you can go for a brisk walk, or maybe you go for a jog, you can do your skipping, or you can do your weight training. Therefore, your heartbeat increases. And how much can it increase? It can increase up to, say, 220 minus your age. What do I mean? It can go up to 220 minus your age. That means if supposing I'm 40 years of age, my heartbeat can elevate up to 180 beats per minute. That means I'm very healthy. That means I'm very healthy. So I'm 40 years old, so I can go up to that. But then what happens is sometimes you have irregular. Irregular means sometimes it is 70, sometimes it goes to 120, sometimes it goes to 130, comes back to 90. Now you're not running, you're not walking, you're simply sitting. That is a cause for concern. It's a heart defect, especially heart rhythm issues. This can come because if one of your ventricles, heart is made of the ventricles, the auricles, and you also have the dorsal aorta, and you can have the bicuspid valve, tricuspid valve. There's so many things. So what happens? It's a pumping organ which purifies blood, which sends pure blood and receives the impure blood. So it's a kind of a process that's going on. If the wall of your heart is weakened for whatever reason, it could be because of high blood pressure. It could be. You can have this irregular functioning of your heart. So therefore, your heart functioning can diminish to say 50% or 60%. So there, it is cause for concern. Of course, even a newborn baby's heart does not work 100%. Maybe somewhere 96 or 95%. But an active athlete, the heart functioning will be somewhere between 70 and 80%. But anything that can go lower to 60, 50%, I think it's a cause for concern. It could be because the walls of the heart can go. So that is one thing. As well as narrowed, blocked, or stiffened blood vessels. Now, this can happen for two reasons. One, when there is an intake of substances like smoking, like alcohol consumption, or substance abuse, this can happen. The second thing is if we are getting into unhealthy food habits and the timing of eating is at the wrong time, this can happen again. And the third thing, while people age, the walls of the veins and arteries can actually get stiffened and narrowed as we proceed in our age. So there could be three. Okay? Now, when we're talking about the third reality of your heart vessels becoming thinner, that is, we're talking about 75 or 70 to 80 years. That time it's a normal process. But at 40, that means there is something that's not okay. So all these together is called cardiovascular system. Cardiovascular diseases. Cardiovascular diseases can lead to a heart attack, chest pain, or a stroke. That can happen. Now, males are more likely to suffer chest pain. That's a symptom, chest pain, and the back of your left shoulder, right till the arm, you get this numbness and pain, profuse sweating, breathlessness. These are some of the signs of heart attack. Okay, so males get this, but women have slightly different. They can get shortness of breath, nausea, a sense of vomiting, and extreme fatigue. That means they get so totally tired. Fatigue is tiredness, but extreme fatigue is they cannot move. They become so weak they can't move. They just sit or lie down. Now, if all this happens, I think we need to be really careful, especially when people are climbing up a stairs and if they tend to pant. Please go and get yourself checked with your physician. When you go breathless, you're walking the stairs. Okay. Symptoms can also begin with arms, leg, neck, jaw, throat, abdomen, and back. So this is the thing that can happen with cardiovascular system. What are the causes? Now, causes can be different. We just said it. It could be family history. That could be one thing. It runs in the family. Because some of the heart conditions can run in the family because it is genetically predisposed. So therefore, it can run in the family. So people with an age of, say, 55, 65, they're more likely can develop this kind of condition. Now, smoking, nicotine also can constrict blood vessels because what you're inhaling is carbon monoxide, which can do a lot of damage of blockages and often narrowing constriction of your arteries. Another thing, poor diet habits, that's what we've already mentioned. Too much of fat, too much of salt, too much of sugar, and cholesterol. That can also be detrimental. And stress. Now, this is one area we need to think about. Stress, unrelieved stress can damage arteries and worsen other risk factors. Now, friends, 20 years ago, we hardly spoke about stress. Nobody spoke about stress, and today everybody is speaking about stress. So, what is stress? I think we need to understand. Okay, I'll give you a simple explanation, which is easy to understand. When we were hunters and gatherers, when human beings were hunters and gatherers, they had very limited work. Now, for a hunter, the only job the hunter can do is go, hunt, provide for the family. That is all. What is the role of a woman? To stay at home, rear children, and nurture them. That's all. It's very clear cut. It is very, very clear cut. Now, what happens to the hunter? Now, the hunter goes to hunt. He wants to hunt a rabbit or a deer or whatever, and he's waiting, and there comes a deer, and immediately his body mechanism changes. His heart rate increases, his blood circulation moves towards his skeletal muscles, and his breathing becomes shallower, and his senses become so acute. And then he aims with his bow and arrow. What causes this? It is because of an endocrine gland that is secreted by the adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla. What do you mean? Adrenal is an endocrine gland that is placed on top of the kidneys. It's got two parts, adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. And both of them secrete two kinds of hormones. One is called adrenaline, which excites you. So the moment you look at a deer, adrenaline is pumped into your blood, and therefore it causes a chain reaction. Your blood sugar level increases, your pressure level increases, your breathing becomes shallower, your blood, which is flowing towards the visceral organs like heart, liver, spleen, kidney, and so on, is now flowing towards your skeletal muscles, so that gives you the power to hunt, right? Now what happens? He hits the deer and he kills the deer, and he spends his energy. His body comes back to normal. So he was excited, he became normal. That's beautiful. Now, supposing he's going there to hunt and he's looking for a rabbit or a deer, and suddenly he spots a leopard or a tiger. Immediately, he has the same reaction. What is it? The blood sugar level increases, heart rate increases, breathing becomes shallower, blood flow goes to the skeletal muscles to do what? To run away. The moment he runs away from the predator, that will be a leopard or a tiger, the body comes back to normal. Now, this is how the body functions. But unfortunate for us today, there are neither deers nor tigers. We are only excited, but the energy is not released. And that is what we're talking about, stress. We're excited, but we're not having a release. Say, for example, traffic jam. We are excited as normal, but that energy, we're not spending it. A deadline, we are excited, but we're not releasing it. Okay? Or somebody passes a criticism on me, again, my body gets excited, but I'm not releasing it. So what happens? It has got a cumulative effect. It adds on one on top of the other. And that is when it becomes chronic stress. Now that's a risk factor. And that can cause a heart condition, that can cause diabetes, that can cause migraine headaches, that can cause peptic ulcers, that can cause acid reflux, heartburn sometimes. You get heartburn. Of course, you can eat spicy things, also you get heartburn. But some people do get a heartburn all the time. That's an acid reflux that is called. And this can contribute over a long period of time. It can have a heart condition. Now, sometimes this is something that we forget. Poor dental care can also contribute to heart disease. Poor dental care. So I think we need to really take care of what's happening, what is going on within my body, the God-given body. I think it's also our duty to take care of it and protect it. Right? Now, that is number one. Now, number two is hypertension. Now, this is a very common condition, and I don't know, I've seen somehow most fathers and sisters get any of these very quickly. Hypertension, high blood pressure. Now, hypertension or high blood pressure is a serious health problem that occurs when the flow of blood is with a greater force. Now, imagine your heart wall is weaker. Your heart wall is weaker, but the pressure of the blood is faster. Now, what do you think will happen? Your heart can't cope up. So that is when there is a risk of a heart attack or a stroke. Or you can have something called thrombosis. There's a word called thrombosis. That means a part of the clot detaches and gets caught into the valve. It's clot. That's called a thrombosis. That's also possible. It can damage kidneys. Now, friends, we need to understand something about our body. So the whole question is, we might say the important part of the body is the brain. Of course it is. It's undeniably true. Is heart important? Definitely. All the parts of the body are true. But the largest part of the body is, the organ in the body is the liver. And that gets very, very minimal notice. The liver. And what does the liver do? The liver does toxic management. Now we have pollutants. We breathe in pollution, we breathe in smoke, we breathe in pollen, we eat, and when we eat, there are a whole lot of things, germs in there, and we drink water, there are pollutants in there, and what, actually they're all toxic, and what clears toxin? It is basically the liver. Now liver, what happens, over a period of time, it cleans, it purifies blood, and it pushes the toxin into the kidneys, and the kidneys excrete, it throws it away. So the liver is very important. We need to keep it healthy. Now, that is why when a 20-year-old person eats a lot of things, they still remain thin. But when you are 40 years old, you eat half a spoon of rice extra, you'll put on weight. Why? Over a period of time, the liver has lost its control. It's aging because of a continuous process. Now, one of the things that the liver needs is sleep. Sleep. So that means the body has a capacity to rejuvenate itself. That means at a certain point at night, the liver gets recharged, and that is necessary. But unfortunate today, our own, our lifestyle has changed. Like earlier on, religious life, we had a timetable, right? We do follow a timetable. Even now, we follow a timetable. We have a time to rise, that'll be early. And then what we do, we have a prayer, meditation, which is good for the mind, clearing of the mind and so on. We have a mass, we have the whole thing about a spiritual thing is nurtured. And then later on, we move on to like our workspace. We move on to our workspace. That's what we do. And we work. And then we come back, then we had this whole thing called recreation, evening meal, recreation. By 9:30, we are done. By 10 o'clock, we are off to bed. Now, this did happen. Now, this is a wonderful timetable which gives our body sufficient time to recover from the impacts of the day. Unfortunately, because of this social media and because of this modernization, because of our eating habits have changed, things have changed, and we are compromised on these three things, which are so vital. And that is one of the reasons that most people get into serious ailments. One, a nutritious food, I'm talking about a nutritious food, not snacking, a nutritious food. Number two, a healthy recreational process, a healthy recreation where you can feel free, relax, unwind, chat about it, laugh about people, laugh with people. That makes your body to relax, stress release. And third, sleep. And we are compromised on these three. And this is got we are paying very great prices because of that in religious life today, honestly. And what aggravates is because of the modernization, our mobile phones, our laptops, the internet, and the browsing, and the work, and you know all that. So people cannot relax even on a holiday. So that over a period of time can give us something, give us a lot of impact. So as religious, I think we need to balance a lot of things: spirituality and body. Body, taking care of the body is also part of spirituality. Taking care of myself is also spirituality. You are the temple of the Holy Spirit. Yeah, it is not in words. So that means I have a duty to protect it and also a duty to nourish it. To give what it is due, what is due. So that is one thing I think, especially when you're moving into the into midlife, we need to keep that in mind. Uncontrolled high blood pressure in middle adulthood can also damage the brain white matter and also create cognitive issues. Things like remembering. We can be very forgetful. We can be absent-minded. Now, it could be because of hypertension. So we need to really be careful when we are moving on in our age after 30, 35. I think, first of all, we need to get ourselves checked. And I would recommend go through a full body checkup when you're 35 plus, periodically, at least once a year. At least it gives you a kind of a feeling that I'm okay. And if at all there are certain things that can be predicted earlier on, diagnosed earlier on, so you can seek help. And then basics, get back to the basics. That's what I would make my recommendation for, because it can have adverse effect. Now look at this. How much can the blood pressure be? A normal, it should be less than 120, and the diastolic would be 80. So normally you will have two numbers, 120 by 80. This is a very normal systolic and diastolic. Okay, that's okay, perfectly okay. But sometimes this can elevate. It can go more higher. Then it can be like 140 and 90. It's higher, or 180 and 120 is hypertensive crisis. It's very bad, especially when your heart wall is weaker. You can get this. That is when you have irregular rhythm, a hypertensive crisis. That means you can head for a heart attack anytime. So that's what we need to be very careful about. Okay, so where does it come from? Yeah, it can also come from the family. Okay, we can take it from the family. It might be my father might be there, my grandfather probably had it, so I had it. Second, too much of intake of processed food. Now today, I don't know about this processed food. Like America, there's a huge department, I mean, whole thing about cereals, breakfast cereals. There's so many varieties of it. Now, is it good or bad? We don't know. Today, people also say a lot of processed food, like people go to the cold storage, like sausages, or frankfurters, or salamis. Yeah, they got high sodium and potassium levels. High sodium and potassium levels means high salt content and potassium levels. This is okay on a feast day. Okay to have with moderation. When you can substitute that with other veggies or vegetables and fruits. and a lot of intake of water. That's okay if you're able to balance that. But then some people have a liking for processed food, or even like drinking aerated drinks like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, or Fanta. Now, the aerated drinks are not good. They got 10%, 10 times more sugar than normal in a aerated drink. They also use preservatives, class 2 preservatives, which is also not very healthy. They also have a high potassium content. Number 3, sedentary life. Sometimes we can get into the sedentary life. Like, say, for example, I'm working in a school and the principal of a school. I can work behind my desk and chair in front of a computer for 8 hours. Now, that's not going to help me. Maybe that's my work. But then if that sedentary life is going on for a while, then we are going to get into all kinds of situations. So what we can do is, your life might be sedentary. Maybe your job requires you to be working on a chair. Fine, but make time for activity. Make time for activity. Walk for 40 minutes, 5 days a week. Keep that as a goal. Walk for 5 days a week. And they also say 10,000 steps per day will give you an indication of a healthy lifestyle. 10,000 steps. Now, this pedometer is available even on your mobile phones. You can have a watch. You can also have watches now. Okay, sports watches that can give you that thing, or even your mobiles can track how many steps you took. So, on an average, 10,000 steps per day would give you an indicator that you are not living a sedentary life. So every half an hour, if you're sitting, try to get up and walk even inside your room for a while. Okay, maybe a minute or two, then get back to work. Sitting for hours is not a good thing, even for meditation. Even for meditation, that's what I mean. Get into an active lifestyle. Obesity. Now, we also have, because of certain sedentary life, there's also obesity that's coming in. We need to take care. We need to become aware that I am putting on weight. I'm gaining inches, especially on my sides and in my stomach area. Now that's not a good sign. So when you are able to live an active lifestyle, try to take the staircase instead of an elevator. That's a possibility. Take a walk instead of taking your jeep or your car to go to some place that is very close. Take a walk. Now, these things can help you to keep your obesity level right, and you can keep your life active. Too much of alcohol consumption, now this can happen as well. When people do consume alcohol, the brain can take only about 30 milligrams of alcohol, which is the prescribed level of alcohol per day. That would mean 30 ml. People can stretch it to a 60 ml. A double 30, that's okay if it's going to be not on a regular basis, or only that much you can take. But there are people who can binge drink. Okay, say for example, they buy a bottle, they want to finish the entire bottle. Now that's not healthy. That can lead you to another complication of alcoholism, of which it's a sickness we cannot recover. We need to be constantly under check. That can lead to that. So excessive consumption of alcohol can also have an impact, especially it affects your liver. That's a vital part of the body. Use of tobacco, nicotine, that can raise your blood pressure. Making lifestyle changes can reduce a lot of pressure issues. Number 3, friends, this is an inevitable thing. Okay, this is unpredictable, but it's true. Cancer. Now, cancer is the second leading cause of death after heart disease, second leading cause. Okay. Now, look at the census in 2016. The WHO says that people something like 249,000 cases had breast cancers. Now, friends, this is why I'm mentioning this. There are 2 kinds of cancers that's pronounced in religious life. Only 2 kinds, mostly. One is pancreatic cancer, the other one is breast cancer. Pancreatic cancer and breast cancer. Now we need to understand why. It's something that we probably might get because of a single life that we chose to live. It's possible. Okay, but if you assess most people, as at least I've seen, most religious, the cancer is not about leukemia. It's not about blood cancer. So it is not, it's nothing to do with throat cancer, nothing to do with mouth cancer, or not even like bone marrow cancer. Basically, I've seen two kinds of cancers. For women, it's breast cancer or ovarian cancer, or for men, it's prostate cancer. It's basically that. Now, we need to really take care of that. Okay? After heart disease, it's the second leading cause of death. Cancer can start almost anywhere in the body. Yes, there are more than 100 types of cancers, but basically, there is a whole lot of cancers for religious, at least in my opinion. Mostly, it is between breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and prostate cancer. Now, look at the statistics. Like globally, it's 1 out of 6 deaths are due to cancer. That's pretty much, right? 1 in 6 people die out of cancer. That's not a good sign. Okay, and this is by the WHO. I'm just giving you the stats from the WHO. There is something called the cancer. 55% of patients undergo treatment for cancer experience pain. It's painful. Okay, and 66% of patients who have advanced thing like terminal cancers can also go through things. So people can go through treatment process. So there are processes, but they are painful processes. Definitely, there could be surgeries, there could be radiations, and there could be chemotherapy. Surgery is tolerable. Radiation, which is a combination of surgery and radiation, that's also tolerable. But chemotherapy, it's a painful thing. Okay, it tends to kill not only the cancerous cell, it tends to kill every other cell. So you might need periodic blood transfusion and so on. Life expectancy goes low. Yeah, this is something dangerous. Now, friends, we need to understand, like, some people suddenly they get diagnosed at stage 3 cancer, and then there's no prognosis, is very bad, and they die. But it will show symptoms if you listen to your body. I think this is the one great thing that we can do on a daily basis as religious. We all meditate, right? At least let's listen to our body, see what's happening in my body. Any sensations, any feelings. Let's not be paranoid, but at least listen to my body. What's my body saying? What is my body telling me to do? If the body says, come on, I'm feeling sleepy, please go to sleep. Don't drink black coffee and start working again. Because that's what we do. Because we have a deadline. Now, is deadline more important or my life more important? Yeah, that's the balance we need to make. Okay, 1 in 5 people will develop cancer at the age of before the age of 75. 1 in 5. So therefore, it is by chance. Number 4. This is very common. Cholesterol. Cholesterol is a waxy fatty substance carried by lipoprotein molecules in the blood. Now, this we know can occur to many people, especially when it comes to religious life. Because sometimes our intake of food, that's an intake of food, and the output of energy is mismatched. Now, say for example, I am a marathon runner. I eat red meat, beef or pork, and then I run for another 10 kilometers. My input level, my output level, I've balanced it. But what if during my feast day, I have everything that flies and crawls and walks and swims on my table? And after that, I go for a good siesta. Now, that is what causes a lot of complications in religious life. Now, in my opinion, I would suggest, my opinion, so it's just a personal opinion. Once upon a time, there was a value for siesta. Okay, but I think avoiding siesta will be a very good thing for your health, because your body will work through the day, sleep through the night. So if you can avoid siesta, it'll be a great thing, because you're doing a great service to your body. Initially, it'll be difficult, but later on, we get used to. Okay. So cholesterol, it is created by the body or created hormones that digest fatty food, and is also found in many foods. Yes, like cheese, butter, olive oil. They are more healthy fats. Okay, they're healthy fats. Like nuts, like walnut, or you have cashew nuts. Yes, or ground nuts, peanuts. They also consider Oil, that's also very good. That's very good cholesterol. But because you need cholesterol, because our brain, 95% of our brain is made up of cholesterol. The remaining is water. We need cholesterol. Not that we don't need cholesterol. We need cholesterol. But what cholesterol we don't need is the cholesterol that is not helpful. Okay, so your body needs cholesterol, but too much of it can cause a lot of trouble. And we need to distinguish between LDL and HDL. That means like low density lipoprotein and high density lipoprotein. And the third kind is called the triglycerides. If you go for a blood test for cholesterol, they will give you a value, right? LDH level, HDL level, and triglyceride level. We need to understand. So how to do it? How to understand that? The normal level of cholesterol is like this. Your total your cholesterol, that means your HDL and your LDL, and a 20% of your triglyceride. That will give you a kind of a marking. Total cholesterol is less than 200 mg. It is measured in mg. Okay, LDH should be less than 100 mg, HDL 40 mg and higher. HDL is good. Now the thing is, like, we need to also understand the triglyceride part of it is what can cause a lot of things. Now, where does this come from? Now, mostly they come from, okay, this is the cholesterol level, okay? The normal is below 200, LDL level should be 130, HDL level 50 and higher. Borderline cholesterol will be 200 to 239 is a borderline, and high will be 240 or more. Can be high cholesterol. So we need to also be in check with our cholesterol levels on a periodic basis. Once a year would be good. Now, what happens? Why do we get cholesterol? Now, we don't get cholesterol by using coconut oil or groundnut oil or olive oil. Then how do we get cholesterol? It's because it's like this. When oil is heated and cooled and reheated, that is when it's dangerous. So you can make lifestyle changes in your own kitchen, in your own convents, in your own seminaries, in your communities. You fry something, throw away the oil. It's not a wastage. In fact, you're doing a service to your body. But unfortunately, what we do, we don't want to waste the oil. We cool it and reheat it. So that is when it becomes trans fat and saturated fat, monosaturated fat to polysaturated fat. And polysaturated fat are very, very dangerous. That is why when you're eating junk food at KFC restaurants and McDonald's or call it Burger King, they're frying those or that fries in the oil. They're not discarding the oil. They're cooling it and reheating it. That is what causes a lot of factor when it comes to cholesterol. So you want to maintain good cholesterol, eat veggies, that's true, and try taking like oil, not the refined oil. So we don't know whether it's refined or not anymore. So now we can talk about groundnut oil, coconut oil, or olive oil. So these are things that you can use. You can use unsalted butter for cooking because most people do that. At least in the West and Europe, they use a lot of butter in cooking. That's also good fat. But when you're using oil, cooling it down, reheating, that is going to cause a lot of trouble when it comes to cholesterol. Again, there is a mention of physical activity and obesity. Fine. Diabetes. Now, friends, this is a condition that can be genetic. Even newborn babies can be diabetic today. But diabetes can also be a lifestyle change. We can inherit them, or we can also kind of take it. Now, how do you understand? People get very scared when it's diabetes. They say diabetes is the king of good health. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Diabetes is the king of good health. It comes with a clause. If you take care of it. Diabetes is the king of good health if you take care of it. And diabetes can be the worst possible disease if you don't take care of it. The clause is very important. If you're diabetic, if you're careful about your intake of sugar, intake of salt, regular exercise, fiber in your diet, and then enough sleep patterns, your diabetes will be under control. Therefore, when you do all this, automatically your cholesterol level, your obesity level, everything will come down. That's why it's called the king of good health, if you take care of it. But supposing if you don't take care of it, then you're going to head for disaster, a trouble, because it can lead you to malfunctioning of your body organs, and sometimes they can just shut down at some point of time. People can go blind when excessive sugar. When the diabetes goes to a point like 400 plus, that time people can lose their eyesight. People can have problems with their kidneys and they can get into dialysis. That is a disease in itself. They can go into dialysis. Dialysis is another painful process. 3 times a week they have to go through. That means the entire blood is pumped outside and repumped inside. Even to imagine is difficult, right? But it's all because people did not make lifestyle changes. Now, diabetes, there can be two kinds of diabetes. One is called diabetes mellitus, that's what I put it on. And there's also another called diabetes insipidus. So we're not getting into that. This is the most common. It's a disease in which the body does not control the amount of glucose in the blood. Simple to understand. For the muscle to act, it needs energy. To supply energy, you need glucose. What you eat is turned into carbohydrate, and carbohydrate is broken down into two: glucose, that is energy, sugar, okay, and lipoprotein. That's all lipids, all lipoprotein, and that adds on underneath the skin as adipose tissue. That means reserve fat. It's like a reserve. Okay, whenever you need energy, then the fat will provide energy. This is how our body works. So our body needs cholesterol. We need fat. Burning of fat takes place when we need energy. So what happens? The glucose is necessary for the proper functioning of the skeletal muscles. Diabetes is a condition where this glucose is not absorbed into the muscle tissues. The muscle needs energy. That's only through glucose. And what happens to glucose? It's not getting absorbed. So what will happen to it? It will go into the kidneys and be excreted in urination. That is why people with diabetes have frequent urination. That's one of the symptoms of that. Okay, frequent urination. Now that will cause sleep disturbances. You see, it's like a chain reaction. So all that you need to do is, if there is glucose, you need to spend the glucose. The energy you need to spend. So what do? Go for a walk. Live an active lifestyle. Maintain your diet. Reduce your intake of glucose. So what happens? Your adipose tissue, the fat, is forced to provide energy because it's already there. It breaks down into glucose and provides energy for the muscles. So that is why people with diabetes tend to lose weight over a period of time, because the storage part of the fat slowly gets depleted, provides energy. But the glucose that is not getting into the muscles, we need to dispose them off by getting into active walking or exercise 5 days a week, and eating habits, sleep habit, and so on. So then it becomes a king of all diseases, king of good health. This disease occurs when the body does not make enough insulin or does not use it in the way it should. Insulin is a type of hormone that helps glucose in the body enter cells to give them energy. That's what we were talking about. Okay. What are the risk factors? Now, friends, there are a lot of risk factors that we can see. Those over age 45, that means we are talking about our group, the group of middle age. Obesity can happen because there is a storage of glucose. It can run in the family. Diabetes can run in the family, can be a carrier. Okay. It can also be because of like certain races and ethnicities also, because of their food habits and their lifestyles can also create diabetes. And physical inactivity is one major cause, and improper diet. Okay, that's about it. The sixth is the metabolic syndrome. What is the metabolic syndrome? Now, metabolic syndrome means it's like this. Metabolic syndrome is a cluster of several cardio-metabolic disorders. Like what? Increase of your waist circumference. Suddenly, you might have seen people, they'll be very thin, but they'll have a pot belly. This happens only when they cross 35 plus. They're just normal, just thin, but they'll have pot belly. Now, it doesn't mean fat people should have cholesterol and thin people should not have cholesterol. We are talking about visceral fat, a fat that covers the organ, not external. So cholesterol is something that covers the organ. So a thin person can also have high cholesterol. Okay, but here metabolic syndrome is people can have a larger waist circumference, blood pressure, elevated triglyceride levels, blood glucose levels, and heart diseases, all in a combination. Now, so far we're talking about one condition, but for some people you can have a combination of all. So you need to be extremely careful about this syndrome. Okay? It could be because of any of this or all of this. Oxidative stress, insulin resistance, chronic inflammation, and you can also have physical inactivity. You can have hypoglycemia, hypertension. All these can contribute to a dysfunction of the entire body. Okay, that means the cerebral system, circulatory system, and the digestive system as well. So we need to be careful. 7. Now, this people can get called rheumatoid arthritis. It's basically an inflammation. It's an inflammatory disease, and many people suffer, especially when they cross the age of 50 plus. Some people also get this tennis elbow. Okay, they can get tennis elbow. They can also have this sciatica, that is varicose vein, because of their work standing all the time with no exercise. They can also develop sciatica or varicose vein. They can also have something called tennis elbow. That means they cannot move their shoulders. It's very, very painful. They all come under inflammatory diseases. Now, rheumatoid arthritis can happen after the 50s. People can get into any of these things with the inflammatory diseases. Okay, like pain, swelling, stiffness, loss of function in the joints, and so on. Okay, rheumatoid arthritis occurs when the immune system attacks the membrane lining the joints. Now, immune system is a defense system. We have different layers of defense. The skin is the first layer of defense. And once anything goes underneath the skin, there is the lymphatic system. That is the next defense system. If it goes beyond that, you have the WBC, the white blood corpuscles, and we have the blood platelets. So they are the ones who are the fighting system, and they all form the immune system. If anything tries to move through the barrier of all these, then it becomes an immune system attack. Then we might get a cold or a cough or a viral fever. So simple things for greater things like rheumatoid arthritis, or tennis elbow, as we commonly speak it, or varicose vein, which we call it a sciatica. It could be anything. Okay, so we need to really. It can be a natural condition. Sometimes it can happen mostly for women. Why? Because after a condition called menopause, they attain somewhere 45 to 55, the cessation of physical productivity. That means they cannot bear children. That's the thing. The the ovary ceases its work. So then they also have something called calcium deficiency. They also can have calcium deficiency. So therefore they can have brittle hair, brittle bones, and they can also have inflammatory diseases. And this is because of calcium or mineral deficiencies. Okay, so we need to be a little careful. Now, this is one common thing that we can also notice among most people in adolescence, or maybe midlife: heartburn. Now, this is not a very good sign. Okay, everybody gets through these heartburns, especially when you go to sleep and then you feel that you have a chest burning. Then you might take certain antacids. Okay, you can take antacids like Acelac or Zintac, or you might take anything with the DSR combination, like Pantosic DSR, Pantosic DSR, Bupenta DSR. All these tablets can be taken. Now, what will happen? All these combination of medication can only push down or suppress the condition, the acid reflux. But then what happens once the effect is gone, it comes back another couple of days. So that is not the way to handle that. We need to go to understand what is the cause. One of the causes is that digestion becomes slower. So when we eat too much of oily things or fried things or too much of rich meat and stuff, it can happen. Or if somebody who's harboring anger over a period of time can also get a heartburn. That's one of the indicators. Somebody who's harboring anger over a period of a time like 20 years, 10 years, then heartburn can be an indicator. That is not a good sign. It can lead you to a whole lot of complications later on, especially digestive. You can develop peptic ulcers. You can also have digestive issues like obesity again, hypertension. So when you have a heart attack over a long period of time, kindly consult your physician. It is not a good sign. But everybody goes through it at some point of time. If you eat something oily, it's once in a way, fine. But on a regular basis, if it's there, when belching is there along with that, and you feel it comes to your throat and all that, please do go check yourself. Okay. And one of the common things again we see is the gallbladder stones, the gallstones. It is basically it's calcium deposits. So they call it the kidney stone. People develop this kidney stone normally between 30s and afterwards. In the 30s, basically midlife. So that is another common thing that we need to understand. And certain things can be dealt with medication. Certain things needs to be dealt through surgery. Endoscopy can be done if the size is bigger. Size is minor, probably they can do it with laser or they can do it with medication. That's possible. Now, specifically for women, this is what we need to talk about. That is, they have a stage in life called a menopause. And what is menopause? It is a transition from a reproductive to a non-reproductive stage. This doesn't happen with men. This is exclusively for women. Because women are productive because they're the only people who can give birth to a child. A man doesn't have that kind of faculty. It's only a woman. So what happens? The reproductive phase has a limited timeline. Right from consumption to about 45 or maybe 50s or a little over 50s. So literally what happens every month, you know that we get the cycle, the menstrual cycle, a 21-day cycle, where the ovulation period is on the 11th day. And when if it is not fertilized, then you have the cycle on the 28th day, 28-day cycle. It happens on a monthly cessation. This happens for a woman. But menopause is when that menstrual cycle stops. That means there are no more, you're no more reproductive. That means your age limit, your timeline is come to an end. So then that can bring about a lot of emotional stress and a physical stress to women. A lot of people. People can be very irritable. They can be very angry. They can feel very negative about themselves. They can turn out to be more body conscious, their own body conscious, and they can get into low self-esteem, withdrawals, whole lot of symptoms. We will still talk about it tomorrow when it comes to psychological transition. Okay? Menopause is an unavoidable change that every woman will experience. The date of menopause in human females is formally medically defined as the time of the last menstrual cycle. That means after that particular cycle, if it should not occur for at least 1 year, that means you have reached menopause. After the last menstrual cycle, you don't have a menstrual cycle for 1 year. Of course, it also ceases when a person is conceived. That's also there. It ceases for a year till child delivery. After that, it begins again. But here, we're not talking in the terms of child delivery or conception, but for a woman who's got into midlife, they can have the cessation of reproductive nature. A timeline is coming to an end, so it stops, and after it is to continue for about a year without any menstrual cycle, then we can call that as menopause. Now, menopause, there are certain symptoms, and this is something we need. Dryness of the eyes, I know this is something we need to be careful of. And one more reason why we should be careful of is because of our use of mobile phones and computers, because they emit this blue light, which also dries up the mucus or the eyes, so it makes it even more dry. So you might develop black lines around your eyes, black shades around your eyes. You can do that, you can get that when you lack sleep. That's an indicator. Secondly, when your eyes get dry because of use of computers or mobile phones, especially before you go to sleep. When you're lying down on the bed and looking, that's the last thing that you look, your sleep will be disturbed at night. So try to keep your mobile phones away. That's one of the causes. Dryness of the eyes is a normal thing of menopause for women. So try to do something. Now, one of the things that works, you can do this at night. Vitamin E capsules available on the counter, over the counter, in any drugstore, in any pharmacist store. You can get that. Okay, vitamin E capsules, a greenish color capsule. You just have to trim it, take that oil, rub it around your eyes, and that keeps your eye moist, especially when you go to sleep. And it keeps your eyes really healthy entire day. That's one thing I would recommend to you. It's not very expensive. You can just buy this vitamin E capsule that keeps your eyes moist. So dryness, irregular menstrual cycle. That means it doesn't go by the 28-day cycle. It's there, skips a month, and then again comes again, skips a couple of months. So that will be the cessation time. Reduced libidos. That means people do not have that excitement, sexual excitement. Libido means sexual excitement, the attraction part of it. They will not have that kind of, like married people, they will not indulge in sexual relationships during that time because they don't feel like. It's a reduced libido. There could be sleep disorders. Why? Because they can also get something called hot flashes that can come anytime. They feel terribly hot and they can sweat profusely in the hot. So they can also have sleep disturbance. They wake up, they find it difficult to go back to sleep. To initiate a sleep and to sustain a sleep might be very difficult for them. So that's a period. That can be very stressful, yes. Fatigue, tiredness, hot flashes, that's what they get, hot flashes. Weight increases can happen suddenly. They can put on a lot of weight. So that's another. Frequent urination. Now this can also be diabetes, but frequent urination is one of the symptoms. And there is a lot of mood swings. They'll be happy. They can have bouts of crying. Sometimes they want to be alone. They can become depressed. They don't feel like talking to anybody. Suddenly they can be euphoric. They can be very happy and full of energy, and then they can become sad again. Now, this swing is almost like a roller coaster ride. Now, friends, we need to also identify when you have a swing, whether it is a disorder, a mood disorder called manic depressive disorder, but that is over a period of time. Maybe a few months it'll be high, a few months it'll be low, a few months slow, the thing is very low. The second condition is women also can get something called hypothyroidism. That means hypo means lower secretion of thyroxine, which is important for the metabolism of potassium in the body. So when there's a low thyroid issue, one of the symptoms is also the mood swings. Okay, so if it aggravates along with the menopause stage, so your mood swings are going to be more. So when you happen this, understanding is better. You know that this is what is happening to me, just for the understanding. Okay, so very good, friends. So menopause is a permanent, that's what we talked about. Okay, yeah. So this is something that we can keep in mind, and I will send you this PowerPoint to you so that you can take a look at it later. So do you have any questions, clarifications, or doubts?
Thank you, Father Staney. Excellent, excellent. This is a wonderful session. Lot of informations, lot of alertness you have given to us. I'm sure this is a very marvelous thing. There's so many dimensions you have given. I now leave the floor open for clarifications. So many questions will be there surely. I ask Father Ben to take over. Father Ben.
Yes, Father. Thank you. Yeah, friends, if you have any question, you can just use the hand icon, which is located in the participants list, down below the participants list. Or you can put it in the chat so that I can read it for you. Or I can, if you want me to unmute you, you can request.
For the Stanley, I have one question.
Yes, Father.
See this. Our communities has rigorous timetable.
Yeah.
Prayer, meditation, then going for apostolate school or hospital, then come back in the evening, have some tea. Then what happens again? The routine work. Then go for evening prayer. This apostolate is taken care of. Prayer life is taken care of as a normal procedure. But the physical wellness, I don't know, somehow it is not taken care of. There's like military people, at least they have got some parades, some exercises. So things are going smoothly. But do you suggest anything so that there's so many important sisters are here, some are provincial, some are superiors, they will take it forward a little more seriously and help that aspect, the exercise aspect, how they can guide us. Can you suggest?
Yes, Father. See, actually, one of the tenets that we always say is ora et labora, work and prayer. So manual labor had its own importance in the olden days. So people like say, for example, the Capuchin tradition or the most religious traditions, manual labor had a value. But that was also physical exercise and activity. But unfortunately, today, manual labor, we have people to help us out. So therefore, even that is cut down. And of course, I understand that the whole dimension of physical activity is taken a backstage. So I think when you're actually designing a timetable for the community, I think you need to have these basic programs there. Prayer, yes. Prayer, worship, that's one area. Intellectual growth is one area. There's a physical growth, that's one thing that we need to put it into context. There must be time for a physical activity. There should be also, we need to take care of our eating habits, definitely. We can't eat anything that flies and walks at the same time. Then finally, we need to give importance to our recreation, very important. Because this was an element that I think nowadays, we don't have. Now it's almost like a forced recreation. Like you have to come, you come. So the superior takes over, you have to listen, you have to listen. Now, this kind of push and strains are something that's not going to help people. I think in this context, openness in a community to say that they are able to communicate what I really want, what's my need. So one of the things that people do is, I will not communicate my need to the other, but I expect the other person to understand what I need. And if they do it, I'll be happy. If they don't do it, I'll feel sad. This is what we do. Now, all that we need to do is, we have community meetings, we have our community chapters. So one thing we can do, we can say, what do I want? You say, I have a need, I need to go for a walk. So that will go into a timetable slot. So we are going to do a timetable that is workable and that can be tried on for a period of time, can be evaluated later. It cannot be forever. If it's not working, we can change it. So that kind of flexibility, if it comes in our religious communities, I think things will be much better. That's my opinion, I think.
Thank you.
There is a question like this.
Yeah.
Can you explain first and second points a little more?
First and second points of? First and second of? Can you be a little specific?
Various sickness you are given.
Okay, that will be about heart and hypertension. That's the first and second, right? Yeah. We need to understand, because one of the things about the heart disease and the heart condition is the workability of the heart, how strong your heart, the walls of the heart is. Now, that comes only through a proper training and exercise to the heart. That is, today we have something called cardio exercises. Okay, jogging is cardio exercise, weight training, or even you can even have like skipping. All this can give you a boost to your heart wall. So what happens is, when you don't give any exercise to your heart, so but at the same time you're going to put pressure to your heart, we will end up in complications with the heart. Because our body's got something called a wear and tear effect. There's always a wear and tear effect, and in middle age, will feel the wear and the tear effect. So in that context, we will get into this complication. This complication can lead us into a psychological mindset, a negativity and pessimistic attitude of the world on people. So many distraction and disturbances can happen just because of a condition. So that's what one of the things that we can do is take care of the health part, the heart part. Now, if you understand rightly, most religions go through open heart surgeries than normal people. I don't know why. Many now other lay people, they go through open heart surgery, bypass or surgery they might go through, or they might even go through angioplasty, angiogram, and all that. I'm not saying they're not going through, but not the extent that the religious people go through, because there is a reason why. Because we have compromised on many things when it comes to the physical uptake of our bodies. And hypertension is complementary to heart diseases. It's complementary. That is also unhealthy eating patterns. Like, say, for example, we have this certain pattern of eating. Like we have morning breakfast and now morning tea. Along that, we have a snack, and then lunch, and along with the evening tea. And then we are having a pattern that, is it healthy? Or should I eat only when I'm hungry? Yeah, it's okay when I'm 30 years old or 20 years old. My body can take it. Once I'm in my midlife, I think I can let go of a snack or try having a 3 regular healthy meal. Or maybe have a fasting 1 day in a week. Or try to go through a fruit diet once a month or once in 3 months. Like one entire day or 3 days, you can just go on a fruit diet and vegetable diet. So that keeps your body okay. So it's also a personal responsibility that we need to take care, because ultimately, if our mission has to grow, our body has to be healthy. If one is suffering, the other will suffer as well.
Ivy, Sister Ivy, you can.
Yeah, Father, actually, you just covered up whatever I was about to ask you, because I realized that in our community and all, there are people who do grumble about food. It is like, so it is sort of a thing that we have to get, for example, non-veg. I mean, for them, it is like, it is a compulsory thing. It doesn't matter what age and all they are in. And then I do realize, but then they sort of eating medicine like how they consume food rather.
Yeah.
I mean, the latter days of their life. So, I mean, like, I also felt that rather than reducing what we eat, it is rather change the pattern, the diet that we are having, because I do realize that there are so many of my friends who are outside there in the world. I know they have money, I know they are rich, but with regard to food and all like that, they do take care of themselves, and they see that they don't waste any amount of food and all that. So thank you so much, Father, for covering up that. So that was it would be a question, but you have already answered in this previous point.
Thank you, sister. Now, maybe I can add on to this. One thing is like, some people demand meat and fish and all that. Fine, that's okay. We can provide for them, but it's a choice for me to eat it or not. I can make my personal choices, because ultimately it all boils down to my personal choices, whether I eat my health, my ministry, because ultimately it's a call that's come to you as a person, not as a group. So ultimately everything comes to me and my satisfaction. So I can choose to eat. There could be fried fish there. I need not eat it. Now, say for example, I eat only twice a day. I'm 45, so therefore I know. I eat only twice a day. I eat morning breakfast. I go for a walk every day, 6 kilometers. I go for a walk, 5:45, and then we have a morning prayer and all that. So we have breakfast. Then I have these classes. Then I have my lunch, and I eat only the next day morning. So it helps me because it keeps me lighter, and I drink a lot of intake of fluid, water. Night before night, I might take a cup of black coffee, which I like, I enjoy, it's also good for health, 1 cup of coffee. And I'm okay with that. So that keeps me balanced. I'll go sit at the table. There will be a spread, there'll be meat and there'll be biryani and there'll be fish, but I will not eat. I can choose not to eat. So that is what it's a personal choice basically. Ultimately, when you're coming to midlife, we can make two choices. Choice number one, you can get into disillusionment. Disillusionment is like, oh, what's the point after all? We are going to end. Now that is when they'll say, I will eat meat and I'll eat tablets. They're not handled midlife well. If you want to handle midlife well, you're making a decision saying that I know I'm in a transition, but my work is more important as well. So therefore, I will take care of myself. So it's a choice factor.
Thank you, Father.
There is a question. When we are in our early 40s, what are all the ways that help us to enter into our menopause stage gracefully?
Yeah, first of all, it's a rude shock because people are going to experience something they've never experienced before. Like, say, for example, people tend to get this hot flashes, they don't know, irritability from nowhere suddenly. So it becomes a rude shock. How to handle. Now, anyway, tomorrow we'll be dealing with the stages of midlife. There we'll revisit this. So what happens is, initially it's a shock. I'm saying, am I me? I behave like another person. I'm not short-tempered. I don't scream at people. I don't throw tantrums. But today I'm doing that. It's the root shock. So that is what is the symptom. But then an acceptance of that situation and to move on is going to take a while. Because then there's going to be a bodily changes, like you're going to put on weight, then you're going to have irregular monthly cycles. 28 days might, go topsy-turvy, and a whole lot of biological things, your sleep disturbances, frequent urination, all that can happen, all the symptoms. So that is new to you. So over a period of time, by understanding it, yes, I'm graceful, I'm coming to this, I gracefully accept this, and then I move on. So that's the mindset we need to come. That we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah, there is another question. What are the preventive measures of cancer, especially breast cancer and ovarian cancer?
Now, actually, the thing is, there is no foolproof way to survive cancer. There are people who have been very healthy, they have no bad habits, and suddenly they got it. And there are people who are indulged in every possible thing and they never got cancer. Now, the cancer is something like that. But we can also take basic minimum kind of a care. Minimum care. Like active lifestyle, healthy eating style, recreation, and sleep patterns. I think if you're able to have a grip of all these four, I think more or less we'll be trying to avoid most issues. But when it comes to cancer, 1 in 6 people have it. So there's no guarantees there. So that's the thing when it comes to cancer.
Further, is it possible to touch something about managing stress? 2-3
Yes.
questions
Yes,
later. Are we going to cover in the future, like coming days?
Yeah. Yes, tomorrow, 5 days, I will only touch it because that itself is a session. Probably we might take it on a later day. That's what Father Nitya and myself were brainstorming. At that time, we thought, okay, things like the tools are to be understood well, like say things like conflict and its resolution, or crisis management, or how do you understand situational issues or stress. So all that we can take it in detail, but of course we will sort of touch during the 5 days, so that we can also have certain tools to cope up with.
Yeah, I'm coupling a question further. 2 questions. I'm putting it as one. Yeah. Sometimes the community members, they hesitate to express what they go through, or even if they express, they are misunderstood. Now, how do we handle? How do we go about it in the community life to support them?
Now, this is a very complex issue. First of all, the question has to be, why is the person finding it difficult to communicate? There could be a lot of reasons. Maybe people are worried. what the other person will think of me. That's the standard fear. Or people might also have a boundary issue. If I say something, they will not like me, therefore I'll be avoided, I'll be alone. That would be the other reason. A person who does not want to make a mistake and wanted to be the good person, inverted commas, will also open up. But internally, they'll be going through a lot of things. So we need to understand what is the issue that's going on. Ultimately, the baseline is they are not living their life. That's the thing. They are not living their life of their own choice. So that will really augment or increase the intensity of midlife for them.
Yes.
As a person to understand them, they can be supportive, but then it's like the horse leading to the stream. They lead the horse to the stream, but you can't make it drink water.
Yeah, I think for Nitya to officially close, then we'll continue the questions.
Yes, yes.
We'll take a few questions.
Thank you, brothers and sisters, all of you, for your wonderful participation. I think we've officially just closed it. Just two information. Today it's already crossed 500. In case tomorrow, if it goes, what we'll plan to give you YouTube live. So we'll give you the link. In case people are coming late, they can switch on to the YouTube live also. That's one thing. Second thing is that there are a lot of informations are there on tomorrow, a very vibrant one. Some people just arrive a little late, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. By the time I think Father Staney has got a lot of information he gives in the beginning and clarification, other things. So please try to utilize your time and coming on time. In case you are already stranded, enter into YouTube live. We'll give you the link. So thank you very much for Stanley. We'll be continuing the question. I think some two are raising the hand also. Thank you so much for everybody for your wonderful participation. Thank you for Stanley for your excellent delivery, and also Father Ben for the organizing. Thank you. We'll meet tomorrow. The question continues.
For in the context of Corona, we were locked out. We were not able to do our regular, physical exercise, walking, so on. And we are forced to in touch with social media often.
Yes.
And there is another question. Some physical exercise is required. Can you suggest minimum how long it should be done, like daily?
Now, one of the recommendations is about, I'll answer the second question first. So, physical activity, 40 minutes a day, 5 days a week will keep you very healthy. 40 minutes investment. Okay. Some people say after meals, I'll go for a stroll for 10 minutes. That's not exercise. The purpose of exercise is exercise itself, not a casual stroll. That's for relaxation. So you need to have a brisk walk or do some exercise, some push-ups or sit-ups or all that. That's possible. If you're able to, you want to do skipping, that's possible. Fine, you can do that. You're doing a cardio workout, 20 minutes. Like skipping, do it for 20 minutes. If you wanted to go for a walk is the safest thing at mid-age, because it does not create a lot of problems with your knees and all that. Because we said we also have calcium deficiency, there's a wear and tear effect. So it'll be better that you can choose walking instead of any high intensity workouts, unless you're continuing to do right from your adolescent period. If you're stopped in between, better not to start. Because sometimes you could have been a good basketball player when you're 20-year-old. You want to start playing basketball at 45, please be careful, because 25 years you never did it. So you need to be careful. So now during the COVID situation, we did not do, yes, it's true. We do not have exercise. But now going for a walk doesn't mean that you have to go on a particular path. We can go around the church. You can even walk maybe inside your room in the shape of an 8, clockwise, anti-clockwise. Okay, we walk 10 minutes or maybe 10 minutes clockwise, 10 minutes anti-clockwise. So it's not that you need a place to do it. So you can walk around your campus or walk around your house or your church if it's there. And if it's possible, there is a park nearby and now it's open, right? So we go. So my community member and myself, we go to the beach because the roads are clean. We wear a mask, we go there, we walk up and down 6 kilometers. So that's our deal. So when the Corona lockdown was in, I used to walk around the church for about an hour. So the thing is, we can really maintain wherever you want. If even that is not possible, try to do like stretches, okay, bending down, getting up, and try to walk on an 8. That means your room is more than enough. You can do that in your room. Try yoga. If you like yoga, breathing and yoga exercises are beautiful. If you're inclined to doing yoga, please go ahead.
Stanley, there's one question in my box. Sometimes my body craves to eat sweets before menstrual. Why is it so?
Yeah, that is because it is not only during menstrual. That is, yes, it's specifically there. You would have realized this. Once you come in the evening after a hard work, you want to eat something sweet. That means the body's glucose level is low. The body is needing sweetness. So that craving can happen because of during menstrual process also. Okay, because of the glucose level can go low, and they wanted to have sweets. There's a craving for craving for a sweet only that particular time. So it's okay. It's okay. You can indulge in that once in a while. See, I'm not saying. See, even for a professional athlete or a professional bodybuilder, there is something called a cheat day. If they're working out for 6 days, 1 day is a cheat day. They can eat KFC burger and they can eat pizza, they can eat chicken fried rice, all that. That's only for 1 day, once a week. 6 days, they eat vegetables and milk, all the shakes and all that. Exercise. 1 day, cheat day. It's possible. They can eat ice cream that day. So it's okay to indulge in certain things, like you like a muffin. Eat it. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but there should be moderation. Let it be a cheat day. You have a bowl of ice cream. Have it, not every day, once a week. That's okay. The moderation principle is what that we need to understand.
For our ordinary women in village, they do not even realize their time of menopause, and they are always contented and full of life. Is that our lifestyle has something to do with this particular stage?
In my opinion, yes. Yes. What we wanted to be and what we are is not what we are. The original zeal when we joined the religious congregation was something else. I had a dream. But is that dream fulfilled today? I think generally, if anyone asks that question, my answer would be no. Because we are caught up in a lot of conflicts and things are not fulfilled. And I have to say yes because it's necessary. I have made compromising choices. All that can lead me to a lot of dissatisfaction. And when I move through menopause, it can hit me hard. But when there is a person there, they have a family, they have a person to love that's very inclusive. They have something called their own, called children. They have a career that's satisfying, financially okay, are they stable? They might have debts, but still they are able to live their life. And they have an occupation, they have physical activity, all that is possible. Then most people do what they want to do. But here, I think there's a restriction. What you want to do, you can't do. That is one of the things that we need to get to during midlife. We need to understand what I really want to do and how can I actually creatively do it. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
So the last question maybe for this evening.
Okay, brother.
There is a kind of suggestion also. That's I'll read the suggestion first. Lots of good workout videos are available in YouTube that could be done it in the room. So that's a suggestion given. And another question. There are two sisters in the community, both are 45 plus. As they grow in age, one shows more commitment to the life and mission, while the other more worldly, which disturbs the community. What could it be? Because both are in midlife.
Yes. So this is a struggle to understand the self for both. And one probably understands it differently. Both tend to understand it differently because of the exposure that they have gone through and the life experience they have gone through. So a person who goes through, like say for example, has a fancy for gadgets, and they also have people, the patrons who can buy them the latest things and all that. So they are satisfying a need that's unfulfilled, so they can get into gadgets and mobile phone, the latest. and latest footwear and so on. But there could be also people who can also keep their minds trained. Why? If supposing if they were fulfilled about their mission and ministry right from the beginning, and they've been doing it, and every day they feel satisfied about their mission and ministry, they are going in the right direction. So this midlife transition will not impact them much.